Well, super excited. I'm Jason Lopatecki, founder and CEO of Arize.
Hey everyone, my name is Aparna, also co-founder with Jason.
So incredibly excited to have everyone here. This is our kind of second in-person Arize Observe. And it's kind of insane how much the industry has changed since our first Observe. Wow. So first off, we created this conference, kind of a developer conference that me and Aparna, and just we as developers, actually would like to go to ourselves. So you've got researchers here. There's a whole research track of people building agents and researching agents. There's builders, technology, innovators. Really, it's just educate. I love to go to these and we're actually learn something. So this space is going so fast. You kind of need these educational events where you learn stuff from the people actually on the ground. So hopefully you come away today learning something. I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take you way back to last year. So this was Arize Observe last year, where we were just, as an industry, trying to figure out how to use AI in products. So last year we said it was the year of AI in products. And you had some, and we're just trying to figure out how to use AI. And some of these products were bad, like I would say R1. And then some of these products we highlighted were amazing. So we highlighted Cursor last year. Cursor now is actually the fastest growing product, I think fastest growing product ever, fastest growing to 100 million. Amazing use of agents. So Cursor, Cursor has powered this, and if you're using Cursor these days, you realize Cursor got agent mode this year. Agent mode is in Claude, agent mode is in Windsurf, agent mode is kind of everywhere. This is the year of agents in an incredible way. Cursor went from like tab complete to like step, solve your problems. It just kind of a magical experience. And I think what you're gonna see is agents everywhere, not just in these code editors, but they're gonna be in product after product after product. And I think the right way to think about this is not the year of agents, but this really is the beginning. This is gonna be a decade of building autonomy into products, where some of the best example of this happens to be in the code editor space, but you're gonna see it everywhere. You're gonna see travel agents with autonomy. You're gonna see medical research agents, legal agents. You're gonna see these agents tackling some of the toughest problems in all of AI, like canceling your Comcast subscription, which is what Pine does. A magical experience navigating, trying to cancel the subscription. Trillions of dollars spent, and we get that. So I joke, and the challenge is we're just early in this journey. It's hard to make this stuff work, and we're learning, as you are, how to integrate this into product lines. One of the areas which we've been seeing, Kaparthi, like this, I've seen this, and we feel this in our products, is you need to give your users an ability to decide how much autonomy they want. How much is the human in the loop? How much do I want to automate what I'm actually having my product go do? So you're seeing these agent modes, and it's not just a switch, it tends to be a lever. How much autonomy do I want? How much do I want this product to go do something for me and come back? So seeing this product after product after product. And not just, it's not just about autonomy and having the product lines go do something for you, but it's a big part of having context, having the agent actually have the right context to make the decisions for you. And the context today that we all know and use ourselves are kind of the GUI on the left, which are kind of the bits we have into our brain. We see these, we know how to use it. The context that the agents use is kind of on the right here, which is IDs relative to something that you want to reference. And so some of the challenges we've had and we've seen across product lines is just the right UX. How do I go from what I'm looking at and make sure the agent's kind of referencing the same thing? So you're gonna see this kind of problem after problem after problem of like, how do I get the right context into the agent I'm building into my product, and how do I manage that? And we have those challenges ourselves, which Aparna will tell you about. And it's not just these big picture issues that we're seeing across agents and assistants, but it's also the details. So how do I make sure the thing's doing what I want? Which is, evals today. We had LLM as a judge 2 years ago in Phoenix in 2023. LLM as a judge using AI to help you understand whether the agent or assistant is actually doing what you want is one of the biggest challenges and biggest opportunities in the space to make this stuff work. It's hard to control these systems, and the LLM's making decisions, branching control decisions, and it's hard to improve these decisions that it's making. It's intelligence. And then the last one is just making sure it's actually converging on what you want it to do. All of these are incredibly tough pain points. And we know these not just because we're building products for you to go use, but we build an agent ourselves, which Aparna is going to tell you a bit about.
Awesome. This is going to be the part of the keynote where we're going to show you a bunch of stuff that we're releasing live today, but we're also going to show you a bit of the journey that we took to go build our own agent. And I think that's one of the things that makes us kind of feel the pain that our customers go through. We were the first actually product in the space to build an actual agent into our own product. And today that's gone back. Today I'm actually excited to reveal that our agent is going, our Copilot is going agent mode. We've rebranded to calling it Alyx. And it is going to be inspired by a lot of, I think, what we got inspired by was a lot of the best practices that we're seeing in people bringing agents into their own products. Let me tell you a little bit of what that looks like for us. When we started in 2024, I think it was very simple. It was kind of a Copilot that, depending on what the users had, it was a router, it decided on what skills or tool calls to call. And I think most of you are probably building something like this as well. What we're seeing now with agents that people are building native integrations into their product is that first, there's some kind of context that is being added into that agent. And that context can be, the more context, the more specific context you can give it, the better responses. How many of you guys have used Cursor and you command L over something, you add in a specific file, and it's just so much better outputs? Well, context is now becoming a common kind of theme in how you want to build your agents your agents into your products. The second thing is we have planning, we have memory, we have state that's being added into our agent. And so let me actually just show you a demo so we can walk through it live. This is going to be the first of, I think, 7 product releases today. So let's do this. So first, this is Alyx. Alyx now has native integration into our product. You can, just like everyone's favorite dev tool Cursor, you can pull it up right on your right-hand side. You can ask a question. Hey, what went wrong with this trace? Why is my eval failing? And what's really cool is, inspired by everyone's favorite dev tool, you can do Command L, you can copy parts of the actual eval or the explanation, copy that as context into your actual chat, as well as the specific span that maybe your agent went wrong on. And what it does is, it actually improves the response significantly better. We are asking here, like, what went wrong with the eval? Better context, better responses. And this is something that I think all of you who are out here building agents are probably going to do as a first principle into your applications, is how do you put better context? Well, we did that. We rolled out Alyx. And I think one of the other big paradigm shifts that we started to see this last year was that 2024 and before, a lot of the control through your application was mostly through code. It was software branching to decide, do I call this service? Do I call that service? And a big shift that's happened is now we're having LLMs actually decide what the control flow of your application should be. This is actually some of the shifts in letting the LLM, having your application be more autonomous in that decision. And how much autonomy is going to be, I think, something we all figure out as we're building. In Cursor, obviously, there's tools like agent mode where you can give it full autonomy, but you can also reel that back. If you're using Perplexity, there's search mode, there's also deep research mode. With us, what we've realized is that the more and more you give control to the agent, the more tooling you actually need to understand what the flow is. So that's what inspired us to actually release a bit of flow tracing. Let me show you what that means. Inside the product, you can actually see the entire flow of what the agent actually took in order to accomplish a task. So you can see all the tool calls. You can see, if you hover over one of the tool calls, you can understand where did it actually go debug that. Go look at the traces for that specific tool. Gives you just an entirely new way of understanding what the control flow of your application is. You're probably all like, okay, Aparna, that's great, but I have multi-agents. And I feel like multi-agents has been blowing up. How many of you guys have seen all the Twitter drama about multi-agents this last week? Okay, so there's some people, you know, obviously Cognition, the Devon team, that's like, don't build multi-agents. And you have Anthropic that rolled out a blog post like, here's how we built this multi-agent research team. And I think the way I think about this is that multi-agents is, you know, there's some parallel to how in software we think about microservices and abstraction of kind of, you know, division of responsibilities. But adding agents, multiple agents, can also be a layer of complexity into your application. You need to understand, and this is kind of what the Cognition blog post was talking about, which is what's the right context being added. You know, when you do a handoff, you can think about just with your own team. You try to build a product, you onboard a new engineer, you have to hand over context to that person who's joining your team. And what context is actually handed over makes a difference between whether they can complete their job. This is actually what inspired us to roll out multi-agent tracing in our product. Oh, man, let me go back. Oh, sorry. Play that? No. Let's see if it'll just play automatically. Okay, let me go back one more. Okay, cool, we got it to work now. So with multi-agent tracing, what you can see here is that there's actually multiple agents inside of this application, and there's all sorts of tools to help you understand what were the handoffs from one agent into another agent. You can go click into a specific agent and see what were all the paths that agent took, and actually use this to understand which agents perhaps have the bottleneck in your application. So if any of you who are actually thinking of using things like, you know, A to A, and if you have agent registries and you're planning to expose those agents, having tools to understand the handoffs and the shared responsibilities across agents are probably going to find this really interesting. We spent a lot of time talking about, okay, observability and how do you actually view your system. But we also think a lot deeply about evals. And I think we started thinking about evals starting in 2023 when we rolled out LLM as a judge inside of Phoenix. But something that's shifted in the way we think about evals is when we started, we were very focused about evals at a very granular level, thinking about evals on the actual spans. So if you're calling an LLM call, if you're calling a tool, being able to evaluate that tool call. What we've seen over the last year here is that there's way more complex applications, and teams actually want to evaluate beyond just a span. They want to evaluate the entire trajectory of an agent. They want to evaluate across multiple turns of a conversation. And so this is what inspired us to roll out today agent session and trace evaluations. Let me show you a little bit of how this looks like in the product. You can actually now go inside of an entire trace. You can look and see, you know, of course, you can add the evals at an individual span level, but for some teams, they want to actually understand things like, what was my entire trajectory of the agent? Did it call all the tool calls in the right order? And so you can today look at the agent trace evaluation. You can also look at that across sessions. So you can see across 10 different conversations or multi-turn conversations and see what step in the conversation did it actually go off and evaluate that. And so as these applications grow more complex, evals also need to grow more complex to support that. Evals is a really important part, but I think the next step post-evals is really prompt engineering and how we think about improving these applications. I think what we've been seeing over the last year is that we've gone from a lot of these prompts actually being written by humans to AI actually driving and doing prompt optimization and prompt tuning. How many of you guys are actually doing prompt optimization, prompt iteration in Cursor, in your IDE today? Okay, yeah. I think one of the big things we've been seeing in this space is that if you're doing things like prompt optimization, it isn't just helpful to keep your system instructions static, but you actually want to continuously and dynamically update your system instructions. And while there are a lot of prompt optimization libraries like DSPy and meta prompting out there, I think one of the things we've realized is that they're all missing kind of this one critical ingredient. They all kind of optimize your prompts on top of a simple kind of scalar score. So you have the score and you kind of keep trying to work it down and improve that metric. But if you have actually English feedback, so if you have things like the annotations or if you have evaluation, explanations, you can actually do a lot with that and use that to actually tune your prompts. And so today, this is actually what we rolled out with our prompt learning. With prompt learning, what you can do is take the data that you're actually collecting across your application. If you annotate it, if you run explanations on it, then you can actually use that to optimize your prompts. The way you do that in the product, you tell us what prompt to actually point to, you tell us what data set you actually want us to look at, and your data set can actually use the English feedback. So things like the explanations or the annotations from your subject matter experts, actually use that and fine-tune and kind of improve the system instructions over time so that the prompts get better as you put them in production. There's a lot we've rolled out, not just on the eval side and the observability, but also in the development workflow. So I'm going to hand it back to Jason to talk a bit about a few releases here.
Awesome. Do you need the... Awesome. That amazing set of releases here. And what our vision was not just for kind of an observability and an evaluation platform, but you also want to be able to make the changes that affect those outcomes. So a lot of what we've been kind of racing towards is this idea of being able to edit and change and improve the prompts that you create. And prompts are like code. They're like code, but bigger. They're in English. They control your system. They control the experience that your agent is actually creating in your product. And what we believe is there's playgrounds everywhere, but really what you want is you really want this IDE for your prompts. You want to be able to compare two side by side. You want to be able to see metrics on these. You want to be able to push them into production and get data back and run them on data sets and production data sets. So there's this vision that I think we're driving towards, which is you want an IDE for prompts connected to the data and testing that you're doing against them. And for IDEs, you want state. I want to go to a different area, and come back to it. I want to make a change and come back to this. I don't want to reset the playground and experience. I need state in my IDE. I want a view that doesn't automatically saves and changes. So for playground, our playground's getting state and views. In this case, I can name a view. I can create new views. And once it's named, all the stuff just saves. So I make a change to a prompt. I compare two prompts. I come back to it. I have this consistent state where I'm developing and iterating. It seems obvious and clear, but there's almost no other playgrounds that have this kind of consistent state feature. I don't just want to be developing in Arize or Arize or Phoenix, and I want to Arize AX or Phoenix. I might want to bring that to my IDE, which is, I think this is probably, I'm sure all of you have heard about MCP and the excitement at MCP, and the hype's probably ahead of the actual usage and value. But this is one of the areas I think is actually a real value, a real number one value kind of creator for it, which is I'm in Cursor, I'm in Claude Code, but I want to access all of the features that I have in Arize. I want to pull data down. I want to create an eval for something, and I want to do it in the IDE that I'm working in with code. So with the MCP server here, I can access Arize features, Phoenix APIs, all within the environment that I'm used to. So with this, I'll kind of walk through an example. In this case, we're kind of setting up the MCP server in Cursor as an example here with Arize. And what this does is it connects in to our MCP server, which surfaces up skills and tools. Some of those skills are from Alyx, which are agent-centric skills. Some of those are just APIs that we also make available. In this case, what I'm doing is I'm actually using Cursor to help instrument an application. So it knows my code base, it knows what I'm trying to instrument, it knows I'm trying to instrument Hugging Face small agents, and helps me write the instrumentation code to connect back to Arize. So this is kind of one example, but I might want it to help me write an eval for data that I have. So our vision is to, data underpins everything we do, which is the power of the platform we have, but extending that out into your IDE is powerful. So, wow, that was a lot. We as developers start our journey in AI with open source. So we either pip installed something or npm, and so for us, open source has always been a passion, incredibly important to everything we think about and do, underpins a lot of how we see the industry. So Arize has a incredible commitment to open source. We have Arize AX, that's AX without the E, AX, which is the enterprise product, and we have Phoenix open source, which Mikio heads up, which is one of the most popular kind of open source evaluation observability solutions out there. I'd like to introduce Mikio.
Thanks. All right, so I want to tell you a little bit of a story of why open source is important at Arize. And so we have 3 core missions as part of the open source initiative at Arize. The number one thing is transparency. We believe in building best-of-class evaluations and observability in the open, no feature gates, directly to our users. The second thing that's important for open source is that we, as AI developers, are building tools for other AI developers that we want to learn with you. And then the third thing is that we not only want to build these tools, but we want to learn with you so that we can shape the future of what AI development looks like. And so I wanted to thank the 150 plus contributors around the world. Hopefully some of you are in this room today that have contributed to Arize open source work. It wouldn't have been possible without you. So here's some of the things that we've been building in the open. So the number one thing is these agents. You need to be able to introspect them, right? It's not just the LLM calls. As Aparna has been highlighting, agents fail in a lot of different ways. And that's why we've partnered with companies like Agno, Mastra, Pydantic AI, OpenAI Agents SDK, Google ADK, Bedrock agents, you name it. We continue to invest into agents so that you can evaluate and observe these agents in the wild. We also have been investing in critical protocols like MCP and building native instrumentation there as well. We also are hugely excited about TypeScript. We think LLMs running in browsers, whether it is generative UI, there's a huge amount of potential for agents accessing browsers and things like that. And so now Phoenix natively ships with a TypeScript SDK. One more thing is cost. So this is something that's been missing in Phoenix, but is shipping today, which is that the trade-offs that you have to make with latency and performance always has to be correlated and compared against the cost. And so now everything within Phoenix, whether it's a trace, a session, an evaluation, a playground run, or an experiment, gets native cost annotations. As Jason highlighted, prompt IDs are super important. You need to be able to pick the right model for the right task. And that means you need to be able to have access to all the different CPUs of our new operating system, the LLMs. And so we're happy to announce things like support for local LLMs through OLAMA, as well as enterprise-grade LLM solutions through Bedrock. Now, those of you that have been doing AI development know that annotations and being able to look at your data and critically look at the failure modes is hugely important. And that's why now Phoenix ships with multi-user annotations. Different annotators can disagree. And then you can now, first class, pull those annotations back out and build human-aligned LLM judges. All right, I got one more thing, which is today I'd like to launch a brand new reimagined Phoenix Cloud. So Phoenix Cloud now has one-click deployment of Phoenix instances. These generate workspaces for you to invite as many users as you like, and every Phoenix Cloud user gets access to 2 completely fully featured Phoenix instances directly in the cloud that you can collaborate in. And so we're really excited with what you're going to build with this, and then I'll hand it back to Jason.
Awesome. We love open source and the power it kind of gives the community. I think, honestly, the next 10 million AI engineers, I think your journey starts with open source. I hopefully today what you see here is all of us are kind of not just building tools, but we're using the tools we build to live in the trenches with you, to build the same stuff that you're building. So your journey, I do think this is the next decade of building these autonomous product lines. Our journey is your journey, so I want to say thank you for this. Thank you. We have one more thing. The AI space, AI infrastructure is hard, and we've been at this for a couple of years. It's hard to make the stuff work, and the workloads for AI are just so unique relative to what we see out there in the ecosystem. So we've been building for a number of years our own kind of data store and infrastructure here to support this. And the challenge we see today is that data is kind of, this is data you're paying for. You're paying for generations, you're paying for evals, you're paying for all of this data to be generated. But it tends to be like locked in a system. You send it to a provider and you can't get it out, and none of your dashboards that you run your exec stuff off of run on the same data. So the challenge is is all this data that's like the oil of your future is locked in a system. So today we're announcing ADB, which is Arize database, ADB. And what it is it's just the right way to do AI data. Instead of having your data trapped in a monolith, some vendor running ClickHouse or something that you have to export, the challenge of this is I run an eval, I now have to export it, or I annotate the data, I have to export it. In the end, the files that run our entire system are just available in your bucket. You annotate something, it shows up there in minutes. You run an eval. That data is there in minutes when it goes back to the object storage to power your executive dashboards. I have teams that run executive dashboards off of evals that they don't want to export and have to know what to change and export. They just want a single source of data in a standard format that you can run off BigQuery. They run off the systems they're used to, BigQuery, et cetera. So I want to invite Michael, who's he's been working on this he's the CTO of Arize, been working on this for years.
Thank you, Jason. I'm just incredibly excited to finally be getting to share all of the work we've done. ADB is the product of years of thought and 16 months of dedicated development. And it's really designed for the needs we experienced as operators and for the demands our customers have of their AI observability solution. Just some key features. We knew from the beginning that a separation of compute and storage was critical. The ability to run in the cloud without worrying about losing servers and losing data because of that. We also know that our customers use Arize during development, and you need interactivity. So that means when you send data into the platform, you need to see it immediately, and you need to be able to react to it. And we don't want you to worry about how long you're keeping data, what you're querying, the age of different things, and whether or not you need to export it. Your data should be your data. And so ADB is really just the solution to giving people their own data, but retaining what we need as far as immediacy, interactivity, and sub-second query times.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. We are releasing a bunch of blogs and write-ups on kind of what it worked, what it is, how it works, the details of it. So expect the first one, I think, today. And all I can say is I don't think we saw where we would end up at the beginning of the journey, but an incredible investment. And I think we know where we are now and what AI needs as an infrastructure. So super excited to put this out there. I want to thank you to the folks who've been supporting us here, from Microsoft, AWS, to Swift Ventures, who bet on us in the earliest days, for supporting us here. And just want you all to have an awesome day. Hopefully you learn stuff. Incredible set of agents and builders here. There's an agenda, and just want to say enjoy the day. Thank you.